Let's talk about Adipurush. So the teaser trailer for this movie dropped a couple of hours ago, and I have mixed opinion about it. The VFX is absolutely all over the place. I'm not sure where the budget go. I mean, this movie is being made in the budget of 500 crore, and Brahmastra was made on the budget of around 410 crore. You have this huge amount of investment into it, and I'm not sure where all of this money is going if it's not going to the VFX, because the VFX really looks quite janky. So it's a deep-rooted story from the Indian religion, the Indian mythology. So this story has the potential to bring out larger than life action drama onto the screen. There are so many things happening in a typical chapter of Ramayana. There's so much of potential to display so much of amazing things on screen, but this is what we are getting. I don't recollect, but there were a couple of TV shows I watched while just taking a stroll through the living room. So those TV serials had this visual graphics being done so amazingly. I'm not able to grasp how this movie is competing with that. This movie definitely feels like a couple of years old in terms of the visual appeal of it, the terms of visual treatment of it, and in the way of how the makers are probably thinking the viewers' capacity of understanding a VFX is. That's something I was really disappointed in. I'm not a VFX artist, I'm not a professional VFX artist, I'm just an enthusiast trying to explore this concept of how VFX works and work which goes into creating one single frame in a shot of a collection of frames. So there is a lot of manual effort, I do understand that. But that's the thing, where is this budget going? I don't understand. Let's do one thing. I captured a couple of snaps from the trailer and I thought maybe we could decode the VFX and what they are doing and how they are doing so that it would give us a better understanding. Coming to our first shot, this shot actually looks fairly good because I think this is being merged properly into the scene, the lighting and everything. The texture on the rock, the trees, they look good. So it matches. It gives a uniform appeal to the overall this scene, so it's working out fine. This is our second shot, and now things are going to stand out immediately because the character of Prabhas as Lord Ram is sitting on this floor, but there are no texture. There's no texture work. It all looks so smooth underwater. That's not how ideally it is. Maybe they could have added some roughness and some texture work over it, so it would have looked a lot more better, I think. So this is our third shot. Again, lighting is really important in VFX. That's what I was able to learn. That's the first lesson. You have to have good lighting so that when the 3D environment is being created for that element which you captured through your camera, you have sufficient amount of lighting reference to light up that 3D environment to give it a more uniform feel. And that is where I think this scene is kind of messed up because you can clearly see the lighting over Prabhas that looks much more different. You have these lighting shades on the corner, on the edge of hand, and that's definitely not same as the scene here. You don't know where the light source is, you don't know where the shadows are being cast, so that immediately stands out quite off from the screen, and so that's the reason it's making this shot look a little weird. Coming to this creature, it looks very janky. It looks straight up like a card, some animated character. So there should have been some kind of work being done on this. I'm not sure what happened here, but this definitely is very distracting to watch. Much more when it actually interacts with the central character of Prabhas in that one specific frame. So it's very difficult to accept that level of uniformity on that shot. So we have this frame. I think Saif is doing some really good roles. He's not backing off from doing all of the negative roles. You had Saif play a role in Tanaji. It was good. His performance was good, and I think that's being repeated here. So he's playing Ravana, and he looks good. I mean, the beard and the hairstyle and the kind of appearance he's bringing out on the kind of expression he's bringing. I think that looks aggressive, that looks intense, and I think this performance would stand out as a heavy performance in front of Prabhas as Lord Ram. Again, when it comes to VFX, this is all probably a green screen, the background of it. The only shot director might have captured is this thing, this, that's it. And this is all of the below, all of the area back of it, that's all a green screen. And but I think this is okay. I mean, they were able to match the lighting a little bit better, much more than the previous scenes we discussed. So coming to our next shot. Now this is where it's messed up again. I was hopeful to see Saif Ali Khan as Ravana, but then again, if you're going to see him sit on this CG character, CG animal, and with so much of artificial looking background, it's going to take your mind off. It's a very bad shot. I'm not sure why this character is looking the way it is. Like more like a cartoon character which is going to pop out from the TV screens when you watch Chota Bheem and those animated series. So it's kind of difficult. This shot, okay, this looks better. This definitely looks better because the lighting is even. I think you have a light source here. You have a light source. I think you have a light source somewhere here, and you have the appropriate shadows being cast on this floor of the Ram Setu. So that's looking uniform, that's adding to that level of uniformity, and water is looking good too. You have good simulations of water being done here. So this is a good looking shot. Coming to this shot, the army which Lord Ram had while fighting Ravana. Again, it's pretty evident they look much more like cartoon character. I'm not sure. There is not a lot of work done on the hair, and I'm not sure where these expressions are coming from. Maybe they could have captured some motion capture of face data, but at least for the central, the commander of the apes, and the commander, at least they could have had some kind of mocap done on it, the facial expression mocap done on it, but sadly I don't think they have gone with that approach. It looks animated, so that's the reason it's standing out, and it's looking very sharp. It's not supposed to be that way, I think. So that's the reason it is standing out. The cloud and the environmental development, I think that's pretty good. That was done well. But the character animations on the facial expressions, they look really, really sharp. They look really, really animated with the emotions. I think that's standing out quite weird. You have these creatures. I believe they are fighting on the behalf or from the Ravana's army. Again, they look pretty animated. They look like game characters basically. Again, it looks much more like a cartoon character rather than something which is being generated in a 3D space. It looks much more like 2D animation rather than a 3D character moving in a 3D space. So I'm not sure what's happening here. You have Kriti Sanon playing Sita for Prabhas's Ram, and this is also a good looking shot, but definitely looks much more artificial. I think it's by design they have made this shot with the color and everything to make it a little pop. This is probably coming from a song sequence, and you know how extravagant Telugu movie industry gets when it comes to songs. So I think that's what's happening here. Again, I think the only two real elements, and probably three real elements in this entire scene are one is Prabhas, of course, one is Kriti Sanon, and one must be some kind of harness or some kind of sitting arrangement for Kriti Sanon for her to jump off of. And this is all green screen. I think, if my guess is right, this is all green screen or blue screen, and the only three real elements are interacting with each other. And you have simulation, you have a 3D generated environment for the ground, the tree, and the sky and the mountains. So I think that's a good looking shot, definitely from a song which is going to be shot quite extravagantly, I believe. This is the shot which again stands out pretty easily. You have again, I think the only real character here is Saif. Rest all is pretty much green screen again. You have Saif walking on the floor in this 3D in this environment of green screen, and then later on you have some 3D models being made according to Saif's movement, the floor, the texture on it. This is all being done in 3D space, and then it is accordingly added into the scene where Saif is walking, and then they are manipulating. But again, that's the thing. I think the lighting is pretty messed up here. If you're able to see, you have Saif's character pretty evenly lit up from all of the directions. I think you have light coming from here, you have light coming from here. You have a good amount of light on his face, on his costume. They are lit up pretty well, but the environment again, it's looking pretty weird, standing out pretty easily as an artificial one. Let's not go into much detail now. This is the last shot. You have these three characters. I believe these three characters are the only real element here, and you have a lighting somewhere here. I believe somewhere here. So you have this area being lit up, and okay, they have added one light source here, and I think that justifies it. But still the reflection on these 3D elements, like the apes and bear and these generals of the army, so they are lit up in a way different way than what these characters are lit up in. So there is always a dilemma, like how are you going to shoot, how are you going to create a shot with even lighting on it? How do you do that, especially when there are two different kinds of shot involved? That is the actor doing its part, and in of course the green screen, and the 3D elements, the VFX part. How are they going to interact with? There are two ways you can do it. You can either capture the actor first and then replicate the lighting in 3D space in your animation software, or you can have a good idea of how your lighting must look in the 3D space, and then you can accordingly replicate that lighting in the real scenario. So there are approaches different directors, different cinematographers follow. I never talk about trailers, but this trailer really got me ticked in some way, triggered in some way, because this is definitely not the year you are going to feed your viewers with such kind of VFX. Bahubali had even better. Even the first part of Bahubali had much more better VFX than this. Brahmastra had better VFX than this. I don't know, this is not working out well, especially when you have a responsibility of such a massive tale to tell. This is Ramayana we are talking about. There are so many amazing chapters, there are so many amazing things you can show, and I'm not sure how the budget is being utilized here. Did you know the movie Sonic? Sonic actually is a movie released by Sony, and they actually released a teaser quite early in development. The first teaser, the Sonic looked absolutely hideous. Like, it was so odd, it was so bad to look at. Viewers, the fanboys for Sonic game, they did take it to social media. They did let Sony know that this is very bad interpretation of what they are doing. And Sony actually did take that criticism positively, and they reworked on Sonic animation and the character redevelopment, and they brought a much more refined and a much more good to look at character on screen when the actual movie arrived. I think the directors for this movie should consider this, take this into consideration, that they need to rework on the VFX. This movie is there is still time left. I think this movie releases in 2023. I think the directors, all of the entities involved, they should take some time. They should reanalyze the VFX. They should do some work, at least fix some shots. I'm not sure how this is going to work out, but I guess we'll find out whenever the movie comes out. Don't take me wrong, I absolutely love Prabhas. I'm the one who actually went to Bahubali theatre in a theatre, and I had a good time with the crowd and everything, shouting and doing all sorts of bonkers thing. There's altogether a different fun when you watch movies by these superstars in South, and the kind of audience it has, the kind of massive fan following a South superstar has. I think that's pretty phenomenal. There are still a lot of people going to like this movie, like this trailer. I got nothing against it. I just want to make sure that this movie is well made. This movie is remembered. It's not just another movie which just fades with the time. I want this movie to be memorable. I want this movie to create an impact, probably like RRR did. Because the story has potential and the story needs to be told on that huge scale, which doesn't seem to be the case here, unfortunately. But let's hope for the best, and I hope the movie comes out really well whenever it does. I think, yeah, that's all for this one. Hope you're having a good Sunday. Till I see you in the next one. Cheers.